Okay, good morning Form 1 and 2. We're going to move on from our sort of underarm throw lesson that we did last week, and we're going to progress it into putting a little bit more power into our underarm throw. So what I've done, or what we've done, is drawn some targets just in chalk on this wall. You could use, if you had a rebound net, you're lucky enough to have one of those, you can use one of those. You can use a fence panel, you can use a big tree, you can use maybe a climbing frame or a slide, something like that. But again, I've drawn it on the wall here. All you're going to do, keeping the ball in your strong hand, same as before, is you're going to be your opposite foot forward, and we're going to be bringing that hand underneath, and today we're really going to focus on the follow through of the hand. Okay, so just to practice, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start to aim towards my target, and I'm just going to get a feel for how reactive the wall or the fence or whatever I'm using is, remembering when I'm catching the ball, I'm trying to catch in two hands. Notice every time I come back, I reset my feet together and I step forward with my opposite foot to opposite hand. Okay, so what I want you to think about every time you're throwing the ball at your target, when you've stepped forward and you've released the ball, I want you to be pointing with your hand at the target. So you're going to release the ball and finish pointing at your target. So if you watch me, watch my hand at the end when I've thrown the ball. I'm not going to catch it this time, I'm just going to show you my follow through. Okay, so we've mastered opposite foot to opposite arm when you're throwing underarm, and we've also mastered that follow through, giving you that power towards your target. Now what we're going to move on to is trying to catch the ball again when it rebounds off our wall or our target, okay? Okay, so this time when the ball comes back off the wall, I'm going to have my hands together. If you want to, you can interlock your two pinkies like this, and you could keep your hands together. Alternatively, you can just have your fingers pointing down like this. When the ball comes off the wall, I'm going to bring my hands towards me and cushion the ball into my body, whichever side the ball comes off the wall. It's going to be coming quite quickly, so I've got to make sure my hands are together, otherwise the ball's going to go through the gap in the middle. So I'll try and do it at a bit of an angle so you can see, but when the ball comes off, I'm going to be having my fingers together and cushioning that catch and the ball into my body. So remember the things we've learned already. Opposite foot to opposite hand, and that follow through, but then we're going to have to quickly get ourselves into a catching position. See if I can do it. Have a couple of goes at that opposite foot following through, and have a couple of goes at trying to catch it. If you've got somebody at home who can help you, just get them to feed you a couple of balls and see if you can practice catching the ball in like this. Alternatively, if you're on your own, you can just throw the ball up in the air and practice getting your hands together, so pinkies together, and bringing the ball into your body. Okay, this time I want you to take 3 items. I've got some spots, and I want you to lay them down, one really close to the target, one a little bit further away, and one even further away that's going to be a struggle for you to throw the ball from. I'm going to put my first one where I was, my second one about here. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see this one, but it's a bit further away. I'm going to put one ball on each of my spots, and I'm going to start on this spot, and I want you to see if you can notice what I'm going to have to do as I move further away from my target. So again, with my throwing hand, my opposite foot comes forward, I push towards the wall, follow through, the ball comes back, and I'm trying to catch the ball with my fingers pointing down, cushioning it into my body. See if I can do it. That's okay if it bounces, just try and gather it up. Okay, what did you notice about as I moved further back? What happened? So on the first one, I was able to throw it against the wall and it came straight back into my hands. And when I got back to number 2 and number 3 on my further away target, the ball actually landed on the floor and rolled or bounced a little bit. So I obviously didn't put enough power, which is that strength that I put into my throw. It's all about this follow through. So I probably let go a bit too early. So next time when I have a go from number 2 and number 3, I'm going to let go a little bit later and the ball will carry a little bit further. So I'm going to reset, have another go. So I realised you couldn't actually see the furthest back target when I was filming from here, so I've moved you a bit further away, but hopefully you understood the principle. So this time I'm going to try again, and I'm going to make sure that I follow through all the way, so I'm pointing at my target. The ball might bounce a little bit, that's okay, but I'm trying to put as much power as I can into my throw. Ball came straight back to my hands that time, so I followed through all the way, more power into my throw. Ooh, nearly. But if you compare that to if you pause and go back and look at the throws that I did before, because I followed through and I did it a little bit faster, I put more power into that throw. Okay, now we're going to go and have a look at something else, and we're going to practice and focus on that catching a little bit more. Okay, so before we move on to the next drill or activity, what I want you to do is just get your ball, your rolled up pair of socks, or your apple, whatever you're using, and just practice. If you've got a partner, that's great, or if you're on your own, it's absolutely fine, you can do it. Just practice throwing the ball up to about head height, doesn't need to go much higher than that, and then just practice that low catch with keeping our fingers together, our pinkies together or overlapped if you're using that technique from earlier, keeping your feet about shoulder width apart. You need to be on the balls of your feet so you're nice and springy, and you need to be able to move and catch wherever that ball comes from. And remember, we're trying to absorb the energy of the ball into our body, so it's a nice soft-handed catch. I don't want to hear any slaps of the ball landing in your hand. It should be nice and soft, okay? So before we have a go at this, take your ball, spend 5 minutes throwing the ball up in the air and just practice that catch at head height, catch it into your body, keep yourself moving, try not to stand on the same spot and just do this. Try and test yourself, get out there, throw it up. If you can really test yourself, throw a bit higher and really try and absorb it into your body. Okay, when you've had a go at that, we're going to move on to this next activity. I've got 7 wind balls. If you haven't got that many, it's absolutely fine. You can maybe, if you only have one, you can just do it 5 or 6 times with the same one. Maybe run around a cone, come back, do the same thing, run around the cone and come back. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start at that end. I'm going to pick the ball up off the floor. I'm going to throw it into the air, and then I'm going to try and low catch it with that technique we spoke about earlier, with our pinkies together and bringing the ball into our body. Because I'm going to be trying to do it quite quickly, the ball is going to be moving, and every time I throw it up, it's going to be in a different position. So I'm going to have to move my body. That's going to be the challenge for you. As you're moving through, see how many you can do without dropping. So every time you drop a ball, you have to go back to the beginning and you start again, okay? If you get all the way through and you've managed to catch every ball, you put it back down, you throw the next one up, you catch that, you put it down, you go back to the beginning, and instead of picking it up, throwing it and catching it, you're going to pick it up, you're going to put your opposite foot to opposite hand, and you're going to throw the ball underarm towards the set of stumps. So let's see if I can do it. Okay, I managed to get all the way through without dropping any, so I'm going to go back to the beginning. And this time, I'm going to pick the ball up with my throwing hand, step forward with my opposite foot, and focus on pushing that ball forward. Next time, I'm going to pick the next ball up, look at my target, and there you go. I get a point because I hit the stump. Next one. get closer to your target. The last one. Oh, if you can throw the last one as hard as you can, see if you can knock those stumps over. Okay, so this time, instead of it all being in a straight line, aiming at 3 stumps, this is the progression. So if you found that really easy, or you want to push and challenge yourself, I want you to set something like this up. So you've got your stumps in the middle, or your wheelie bin, or your bucket, your flower pot, whatever you're using in the middle. And you've got your 4 items or balls on the corners of the diamond around the outside. It could be a circle, don't mind how you want to set this up. And you can do a very similar thing to the activity before. Each one of these 4 spots you're going to get to, you're going to pick up the ball, you're going to throw it up nice and high, and you're going to practice that low catch with that technique of our pinkies together and bringing it in, bringing the ball into our body. So I'm going to put that ball down, I'm going to do the same on that one, same on that one, same over there, back to the beginning. When I'm back to the beginning, I'm going to turn to face the stump. I'm going to have my ball in my throwing hand. I'm going to push my opposite foot towards my target, and I'm going to really focus on driving that ball towards the stumps. And the most important point today is going to be that follow through. So seeing how much power I can put on the throw. So I'll do it all the way around so you can see. Okay, so now I've gone all the way around, done my catches. This time is going to be the throwing. So I'm going to again push my foot towards the target. Just about. Missed that one. Hit that one. Okay. Maybe challenge yourself. If you've got a partner, you can use mum and dad, brother, sister. Get them to do it, see how long it takes them until they hit all of them, and then see how long it takes you, and you can compare your scores to make it more like a game. Have fun.